$1 million. $1 million. 950 to 1 million. 900. 1 million is big. 1 million one. 1 million one. 1 million.
Yes, I'm Chuck Miller. I grew up in Lincoln Park, Michigan. And I started out building model cars as a kid. I mean, 10, 11, 12 years old. Naturally, that's what I wanted to do as a kid. Well, naturally, when you get to be 16, I got to have my own car now. So I got my first car when I was 16. And I had a job working in a small body shop. A friend of mine had a shop, and I was working there after school. So then after school, I'd go to the shop, then, because that's just what I wanted to do, was work in a shop. So when I was 18, I graduated, and I had a 50 Ford Coupe. My first car was a 50 Ford. And I finished that up when I was in high school, and it was in rotting and restyling in '61. Mike and Larry Alexander, the Alexander brothers in Detroit, very well-known customizers. They shot the car and did a story on it, and that was in, like I say, rotting and restyling, May of '61. So then I was working in this body shop. He decided he wanted to move to Florida, wanted to know if I wanted to take over the shop. So I was 20 years old at the time. That's when I started my business. So I was 20 years old, and I kept wanting to do this and wanting to do that. I would build my own customs and what have you and put it in different car shows. Then I started doing a little bit of work for Bob Larrabee. He was the promoter back then of Promotions Incorporated that promoted car shows all over the country. I would do little touch-up jobs for him. You know, a car was damaged, maybe one of Barris's or Roth's cars, and it had to be touched up. Well, he would bring me the car, I would touch it up. So evidently that gave me a little bit of a credentials with Bob Larrabee. Well, then in '68, I wanted to do something different for a show car, if you want to call it, and that's when I built the fire truck. In '68, I put that in Autorama in Detroit, and I won the Riddler Award then with that car. Well, now we fast forward from there, Bob Larrabee again. Big promoter. He was at a toy show in Chicago, and he saw the model of the Red Baron. He saw that model, and he thought, wow, that'd be great if, you know, we could build a real one. So he talked with Monogram Revell and said, would it be all right if I built the real one? Well, naturally they're going to say, yeah, go ahead and do it. It's only going to sell models, you know. So they made a deal. Bob came to me with the model and said, here, can you build this? Sure, I can build that. So I figured, well, okay, that's what I want to do. So I had the model, and it's only, geez, a little model car. So you start from there. You naturally start scaling it and how big the tires and motor and body and all of that, what they're going to be. So I started on that, and I wanted a challenge. You know, naturally back then you always read about your heroes in the magazine, Barris and Winfield and Starbird and people like that. Well, I wanted to try to do it too, so I made the body all out of sheet metal. It's all steel. The helmet, we made that out of clay. We made a all clay model just like we wanted it, made a mold off of that, then made the helmet. Then that's how the Red Baron came about. That was in '69. In the '60s, things were just going crazy, snowballing. I mean, I was busy all the time with something that was always in the shop of different, unique hot rods or custom cars. Well, Hurst Performance, they contact me about doing a prototype Hurst Olds in '69. It would be a new model for what they were doing. So they brought me renderings of what they were looking for. So I did that for them. Well, I finished that up. We called it the elephant tusk Hurst Olds because the rear spoilers came down the side of the quarter panels like an elephant tusk. Okay, had the hood scoop on it and scoops in the hood. So I did that car, and Hurst took it to Olds. They really liked it, but thought, we can't do that in production. Warehousing and warranty and all of this stuff with this spoiler, we like it, but we can't do it. All right. Well, they liked the whole car, but there were two little spoilers on the air intakes on the back of the hood. They couldn't do that either, so they took those off, just left the grills in there. And also, right through the middle of the back window, we had a gold stripe to come off of the roof, through the back window, and onto the deck lid. They liked it, but we can't do that. You know, I don't think the state and the government and anybody would like that. So they axed that. They got rid of that. Today, you could probably get away with it with all of the vinyls and see-throughs and all of that, but it really looked cool. Anyways, they eliminated that. They went with the just regular wing in the back, but the hood scoop, they went for that. Then Hurst also wanted to do the new version or come out with a new one of the Rambler Scrambler. That was a red, white, and blue Rambler. I did that one as well for them. Hood scoop on it, they went for that. The way I did it, they liked it. But I had Frenched taillights in the tail pan, and they figured, well, it looks good, but warehousing and then production on the line, we can't do that. It as well had a blue stripe through the back window. They liked it, but nah, I don't think we can do that. So they got rid of that. But the way you see the Rambler Scrambler today, if you see one, that's the way it was when I did the final version of it and they went into production on it. Well, that was in the 60s with the Hurst Olds and the Scrambler, but then again too, Chrysler wanted to do something different. They usually gave a car away at the end of the year for the championship, ISCA. Cars with the guy with the most points, you go to a car show and get best this, best that. Well, at the end of the year, who has the most points, they win. Well, they wanted to do something different than starting, so they started giving away a car. So that's when they came to me and they wanted to do a Barracuda back then. So that's when I did the Sonic Cuda for Larrivee. And then at the end of the year, it was a giveaway car. That's what it was. So they gave the car away, and then after that, Chrysler liked that so much, they wanted to do a road show, if you want to call it. You know, it would go to dealerships all over the country. So they had a Duster, a Roadrunner, Prud'homme Funny Car, and the Cuda. So there were 4 cars originally to go on tour all over the country. Well, that's when they came to me. They liked the Sonic so much, the style of it and everything, they wanted to do a Cuda. They had Harry Bradley in California, big designer at the time. He designed all of the RTS cars. They brought the Cuda to me, and then I customized it the way Harry Bradley had designed it. So he designed it, and I had just renderings, that's it, of how to do it, no prints or any of that. So just here, let's do it. So that was in '70, and it was painted white, silver, lime, and charcoal. That was the first version in '70. Okay, '71 comes around. The Roadrunner was the square body in '70. So, but in '71, that was the more smoother roller, contoured body. So they wanted to do a runner as well. So they brought me a brand new Roadrunner, and that was in the RTS package as well, going in '71. That was painted orange and white pearl. Okay, but then they're still with the Cuda. They figured, well, geez, we can't show that again like that this year. We're gonna have to change it or do something. We can't do it the same, you know. So here's the Cuda. Harry Bradley designed a new layout, colors, and all of this for it. So that's when they gave it to me and said, here, do this. All right, but we don't have any time. You got to have it done next week, they might as well have said. And back then, in the '60s, '70s, there was no urethanes and all that. It was lacquer, acrylic lacquers. That's all we had to work with. So you don't have time to strip it. Okay, we didn't have time to strip it, so we just sanded as much of the material off as we could and go with the new colors. So that's what we did, and it turned out, you know, the way it is right now. When they brought the new Cuda to me with the drawings, I started by pulling the whole front end off of it. And just like I said in the before with the Red Baron, I wanted a challenge. of it. So I wanted to make the whole thing out of metal, and that's steel. The whole car. There was no fiberglass or anything. It's all sheet metal. I made this whole front mouth opening, if you want to say, as well as this whole lower pan with the spoilers. That's two-piece, to where the Sonic Cuda was one big spoiler on the bottom. Basically, it had the same mouth out of sheet metal as well, and one spoiler. They wanted something different than that, so we went with the two spoilers and parking lights on the bottom. Factory shaker hood, that's all factory. Nothing was changed there. Then you move down the side, we took the door handles off naturally and just eliminated them. And to get in, it's just this here little button you push, and that was it. That's how it opened. So the handles were filled. And then also a little different touch was side exhaust. These are Trendsetter exhaust. Big company back in the late 60s, 70s. That's what that is. Then coming back to it, we added, today you'd call it a mud flap, but a flare. And that was the styling back in the late 60s, 70s with the big tires hanging out of the quarter panels or front, whatever. So that's the reason of the big tires for the year. That's what you did. Moving around the back then, it had the license plate in the center. We filled that in, and that's where the gas was as well. Gas is now in the trunk. These are solid blocks of plexiglass. Each one was hand-formed, ground and filed and sanded to get them with the three pieces. Then inside of there, there's a box inside of there, a housing with a red lens in it. So they do work, and when they do, it just kind of glows, the tail lights, but it has tail lights, brake lights, turn signals. Down on the bottom, here's where the bumper guards were. This is a standard factory bumper. It had guards, we eliminated that. Here's where the exhaust came out at the time. We added the wheelie bars to it. Then added the parachute, because this is going to be a really fast car. So that's what the idea of that was at the time. Then Mr. Bradley wanted to do something with the back window. And in NASCAR, that's when they have back window supports, you know, airflow, vacuum, it might blow the back window out. It was just what they did back then, and that's the reason for the bars on the back window. I guess we'll fast forward here a little bit, and all of the cars that I've built over the years, this is really probably one of my favorite cars. And I've built a lot of cars, and I feel very, very fortunate and blessed by what this has gone for now. This went across the block at Mecum in Indiana in '23 for $2 million. At the time, I couldn't believe it, truthfully. And you always think of, you know, you watch them on TV and all, but when this went across for that, I was just, truthfully, I was lost for words. And I just couldn't believe it, because I watch other builders and all of this in my past, my heroes, Barris, Winfield, Starbird, all of these people, and I see what they've done, and I thought, boy, I would sure like to do something like that. And yesterday it proved it. So I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to be involved with this whole hobby, industry, whatever you want to put the word on, but I'm very happy about the results.